welcome to Embrace the Madness. I'm your host, Madeline, and we're back with another episode. I'm sure you've been waiting. I've been kind of waiting too. And it's been an interesting, I guess, adventure getting back into podcasting. And I've shared a little bit here and there, but I really plan to go deeper into it, maybe in another episode. Just like talking about my recent experience and feeling really heavy resistance and getting back into the podcast and all of that stuff. But I definitely wanted to start getting some interviews back because I know how wonderful they are, and I love how much wisdom comes through these conversations that I have with my friends, and I know that you get a lot out of it as well. And so here we are. Actually, I'm super excited to bring this episode to you. It's a little bit lengthier, which it depends on what you're looking for, but I always love the long ones because then I can just like really get into it and just take a big chunk and get a lot out of it. So I really hope you love this episode. I got to sit down and talk to my friend Luisa. She went to high school with me for a little bit, and you'll hear us talk about it. Yeah, she's always been super inspiring, and it's just been amazing to watch her strength, her humor, and just her all-around awesomeness. So I'm really excited for you to hear her story. I think it was something that I had always known about, but I hadn't heard it from her words, from her perspective, from her heart, and so we really get into her journey with cystic fibrosis, and we actually get into a lot of stuff, which is exciting, and I felt like she was the perfect guest to interview for the podcast just because we're kind of experiencing similar things and themes in our life, dealing with shame, understanding what our identity is, understanding what our identity isn't, figuring out how to release expectations for ourselves, practicing gratitude, all of these different things in one conversation. So I'm really excited for y'all to hear it. And it's actually also Luisa's birthday today. So happy birthday to Luisa. And yes, it's lovely. I'm excited. I'm excited to get back into podcasting and come out of hiding. So I did also want to make a quick note that some of the audio got a little kind of staticky. I think just because my interview process hasn't really been super refined. I think the microphones might have been turned up a little loud because they weren't picking up our audio. And so some of it was a little uneditable, but it's definitely listenable, and it's definitely not completely like annoying. Well, I mean, it just depends on where your threshold is, honestly, but I tried to EQ some of it out, and some of it was just not really happening. But I did want to let you know just in case. It's kind of like towards the last half of the episode. But yeah, I mean, if you've listened, you know that usually the quality of these podcasts are good and nothing really like that. So bear with us. Just, yeah, it's really not bad. I just wanted to give you like a heads up. And so give it a listen. Let me know what you think. You can screenshot and post on Instagram and tag at Embrace the Madness Podcast. I want to know what you think. I want to know how you like the episode. I look forward to hearing from you, and we will see you later. Bye. Okay, so this is Madeline with Embrace the Madness. I'm back with an interview, and I have my great friend Luisa here. I'm super excited that she agreed to come onto the podcast. We were, I guess, you went to IC high school for a couple years?
for like not even 1 year. I went and then I left.
But yeah, we met then, and then you had known Aaron, our good friend, and we kind of were friends. I'm pretty sure I very first met you at the Greek festival. Was that on the sidewalk?
Oh my gosh, you're so right. We did meet at Greek festival. I think that was the first time we met.
I wonder if it was through IC or through
I think it would have been through, for some reason I want to say it's through Mackenzie.
Sure, that makes sense.
I feel like it was through Mackenzie.
Shout out Mackenzie.
Yeah, shout out to Mackenzie if you're listening.
She's a loyal listener.
All right, so we can't talk about Mackenzie on the podcast.
We can only talk about Mackenzie.
Okay, we're only talking about Mackenzie and all of the good things that she's ever done.
Yes. But yeah, I'm super stoked to have Luisa here. I'm excited to hear her story and how she's been, we've been joking, living the dream, living her life. And yeah, I feel like I've known you and we've been friends, but I haven't really gotten to like dive deep with you and like hear the nitty gritty and like the shitty nitty gritty and, you know, all that stuff. And Luisa's been really inspiring over the years. And I feel like we were friends and then we kind of, you know, drifted apart as friends and adults do as they are becoming, you know, adults and all those things. But it's been really cool and inspiring to see her post on the internet and just find beauty in life, even though it may not be giving you lemons or Juan's margaritas or things like that. So she's a beautiful writer. She's a beautiful human, and I'm super happy to have her here.
Well, thank you for the beautiful introduction. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad that you invited me to come talk. And I think this is my second podcast that I've ever like recorded with a friend.
Oh shit, you've done one before?
I have.
Hell yeah.
I did. So it was like a year ago. One of my really good friends is from work. He has a podcast where he talks with other people with rare diseases because he has spinal muscular atrophy, and so he invited me to come on board and to talk about cystic fibrosis and SMA, and kind of look at the overlap between the two. And I was very nervous that day. It was really funny because Kevin is one of the people I talk with the most, and I like tell him all my deep secrets, and I will talk for hours with him. And then I got to the podcast, and I was like, I have no idea what to say anymore. I'm just going to be quiet.
It's so weird that like a microphone can do that. Like ordinarily, like if we weren't holding a microphone, it'd just be like me and you talking or you and Kevin talking. But it's like you put the microphone and it's like
all of a sudden you have all this pressure. You're like, I have to say the smartest thing and the most eloquent thing right now. Otherwise, this is all a sham.
Right.
And I don't think that on it. Like, I don't have those expectations like at a conscious level, but it's like it's there, like this underlying, like I'm scared. I don't know what to say.
Well, it's anymore. Like if no one's ever heard me talk, this could be the very first impression, and if I sound dumb, they're gonna never want to talk to me again.
Exactly. Like in my head, I keep telling myself like nobody's gonna listen to these podcasts, and it's a weird realization to be like, oh my god, people who I don't know are listening to me talk, and like. That also goes for like the things that I write on the internet. People who I don't know read my things, and that is a bizarre feeling. It's a bizarre feeling, but I also know that some people will reach out and say, "Hey, like that really helped me. Like that little thing that you wrote on the internet." And I guess that makes it worth it. Even if I like make gaffes on this podcast or any podcast or anything that I've written online, which I'm sure I've made some dumb mistakes. So.
But I feel like the vulnerability and the authenticity is, I think, probably what truly, like, helps them in that moment. Like, hey, you were vulnerable and you showed me it's okay for me to be too.
Right. Just to be open with the experiences that I've had and to share that without shame or, you know, or to like carry that shame and just say, hey, I'm going to like share this anyways because it's a part of my story. Like this is a part of who I am.
I just had a vision of like a purse and you're like, this is my shame. I love it.
Lately.
But you're so right.
Like, right. It's like, I have all of this shame and I feel so this way about it. But you know what? I think it's easier for me. And I relearned that this morning was like, it's okay to share all of this stuff because it's a part of who I am. And like, I don't know how to operate any other way.
Right.
Before this, this morning I had all of those encounters with folks who just had like vulnerable conversations at work. And side note, I work at a small coffee shop. And so, I get all sorts of people who walk in and who want to talk. And lately, like in the last year, I haven't been feeling like talking, which is very unusual. And it's because I obviously we're in a pandemic or have been in a pandemic, and that's definitely carries on its own like storm cloud and it's just sort of like tunnel visions you and makes it harder to be open.
Yeah.
But also, like, there's been quite a bit of shame that I've been carrying, and
because you're not talking?
Not just because I haven't been talking, but I think it's like surrounding, like, I think CF, and I hadn't realized that until this morning. And I started having these conversations with these people, and I just openly just shared, like, yeah, I have cystic fibrosis. Yeah, I have, like, this is what I've gone through. Yeah. And it felt liberating to just be like, yeah, I have CF. And I feel more normal when I talk about CF than when I like try to hide it.
So you're saying like before today or whenever you normally don't, I mean, I guess like it's not like you would just bring it in the conversation. Is that what you mean? Like,
yeah.
Like now you're feeling proud.
Now I'm feeling proud. And I would say like that's this past year, like 18 months in the pandemic, I've felt very weird about like being open with CF. But beforehand, like that was my normal. I think somewhere along the way in the last 18 months, I picked up this sort of inclination to like hide it. Like, why do I have to bring up CF? Like, why do I have to own this? Or like, well, is there anything else about me that I can talk about that isn't related to my disease?
Yeah.
And so whenever in conversation lately, I kind of have neglected CF and wanting to find who I am outside of CF has been where I've been. And then finally this morning, I'm like, you know what? CF is part of it. CF is a big part of it, and I got to own it and take it. And if it makes other people uncomfortable, then so be it. Like, They're gonna have to be uncomfortable, and they don't have to be uncomfortable. Like I don't ever want that for somebody,
right?
But like, I feel like this is a lesson that I'm like relearning. Is that like when I share my vulnerabilities, other people share theirs, and is there anything wrong with? I just feel like that's a deeper way of connecting with people.
I agree.
So.
I think that's a big thing I've been learning these past few years, and like I was often told I was too sensitive, and I think really just like exploring my sensitivity and my vulnerability, not seeing that as weak and not seeing that as like something to hide, and like you said, just kind of like that kind of being the bridge to connecting with others and stuff like that.
Right. And I've been exploring like the question of like what, and I think when I'm going to say it out loud, I'm going to be like, that sounds ridiculous, but it's like, what does it matter that we create connections that are built upon like vulnerability? Like, why does that even matter? Like, what does that even mean?
Like people think it's not good?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I perceive the way I perceive like social, like our relationships within especially our age group. I feel like there's a lot of barriers that other people will put up, and I don't understand why people don't want to be vulnerable. I don't get that.
We're like, what do you mean? It's fine.
Yeah, I don't get that. Even though I just spent the last 10 minutes like explaining like how I'm like covering up CF. I'm like, I also like don't understand like why can't we talk about these things? Like why can't we talk about things that are hard, and like why can't we open up and say, hey, I don't understand, or I don't understand, or hey, I'm having a difficult time. I feel like when I do that, my issues aren't resolved, but I don't feel alone.
Right. Like we're all carrying our shame purse.
Our shame purse, backpacks, mounted like hiking gear.
This isn't heavy. It's fine.
It's fine. No, I don't need your help. I've got like 3 broken feet or 3 broken toes. Don't worry about it, guys. Like,
right.
My vertebrae's fucked up after this, but like, no. God, it's a lot.
Do the microphone closer.
Okay, cool.
We're just trying to figure out the
sound. I'm like, gonna make out with this.
I know. Davis is like, just get really close to it. I'm like, this is weird, but I don't know. Who knows?
I don't think
it's like when I'm karaoke. I'm like, please get this as far away from my face as possible.
The last time I did karaoke, anytime I do karaoke, I am very well inebriated, so I'm totally okay with it.
Who isn't? I'm like, I cannot sing normally.
Oh, God.
Okay, so I guess kind of to backtrack.
Okay.
For anyone who doesn't already know what CF, what cystic fibrosis is, can you
explain that?
Go there.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Sure. Like,
do you want to like, okay, conversation number 1,007,000.
I mean, I don't mind. And 1,007,000, I'm here for it.
Hell yeah.
Do you want to start with like what CF is?
Yeah, I mean, I guess just in general, like for those who probably either have no idea, who may have heard of it, like, I mean, for me, to be honest, like I've just known a little bit what you've told me. I don't know completely. I mean, you don't have to go like on a molecular, you can go as far
as I can go.
You want to go. But
yeah,
just give an understanding of what that is. I mean, you mentioned it was a rare disease in the beginning, and just like, that, and maybe just like kind of segueing how living with that has been.
Okay, so cystic fibrosis is a rare disease that is a genetic rare disease. So to have CF, each parent has to have a mutation for their child to have CF, and there's like a 25% chance that if both parents are carriers for CF, then their children or offspring will have CF. So yes,
so it's like a 25% chance, even if they have the mutation,
right? So
they might have it and might not,
right? So like if both parents have CF mutations, then there's a 25% chance that their child will have CF.
Okay.
So I won that lotto. And
ding,
ding 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 ding. And so with CF, what it actually is what happens in the body is that at the cellular level, there's a little channel that transports salt and water in and out of the cell. In people with CF, that little channel is folded, and there are different types of foldings of the channel, and those are based on mutation types. So, what does that look like in the body? The body can't rid mucus normally. Like it can't get rid of mucus in the way that it normally would. So like in the lungs, you have all this accumulated mucus that is affecting the airways and the way that you breathe, and you have all of this inflammation. And because of the nature of inflammation in mucus, you are prone and very susceptible to infection, particularly like pseudomonas or bacterial infections.
Is that just because like it could like go jump in the mucus? Or
it's because it can thrive in the mucus. So certain bacteria can thrive very well in the environment that your lungs are hosting. Okay. So that thick, sticky. So think of like when you get a cold. The way the body is going to respond is by excreting more mucus to help hold the virus, or like that's the way the body, like natural response system, is creating more mucus. And that's why you get like a runny nose and you cough and X, Y, and Z. And people with CF, it's you already have the mucus, and that attracts and creates that environment for bacteria to thrive and to have happy little bacterial colony families. And then that very same bacteria, the body's going to respond to by creating more mucus. So it's kind of like this vicious cycle. And so that's what's going on in the lungs. And then all that mucus and all that inflammation causes lung damage, and it causes difficulty breathing. And that's just the lungs. It affects like every cell in my body. It affects every part of my body. So it also affects the GI system and the way the body is able to absorb nutrients and fat soluble vitamins. It's going to affect the way that your ability to gain weight, because the process of getting digestive enzymes from the pancreas to the small intestine is difficult because of all that mucus, and mucus is going to block, or those secretions are going to block that transport or destroy the pancreas altogether. And then the reproductive system has very blatant ramifications. So it's a full body disease. It affects everything. And but for me in particular, like my lungs have been the most affected. And so, I was diagnosed, most people with CF are diagnosed at birth. They usually have failure to thrive, which means that they're not gaining weight and they're like they're not meeting all of the growth criteria that a newborn baby or a young baby would. So they're often tested then and there, but I never had those issues. It wasn't until I was in second grade that I developed pneumonia. And I think it was sort of like I would get better and just get sick again with pneumonia. And in third grade, I got pneumonia again. And my mom doesn't think that I ever recovered from my first bout of pneumonia.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got it again. I had walking pneumonia, and I had a collapsed lung. And I remember having, my millionth x-ray at this point, and the radiologist walked into my room, which almost never happens. The radiologist usually stays in their basement. He looks at my mom and dad, and he's like, "This looks like cystic fibrosis." And I was a tiny 9-year-old child, and that was my first time hearing those words. And then a couple of weeks later, I was officially diagnosed after doing a sweat chloride test, which is where they actually at that point they put diapers on my arms and provoked me to sweat. They collected the sweat sample,
literal diapers.
Literal diapers. Nowadays they do things a little bit differently, but at that point they put diapers around my arms and they made me sweat. And they, using the collection of sweat, they tested how much salt, what the salt chloride levels were, and mine were high. It was and sure enough, I had CF. And then later on, I did mutation, testing for what mutations I do have, and I'm L1077P and Delta F508.
Talk dirty to me. What is that? Like a chromosome or a receptor?
I couldn't tell you. Okay. I don't think I could tell you that. But that's the mutation, the gene mutation that I have, I guess. I don't know. I haven't delved that deep into.
We can stay here.
Don't make me go any further, Madeline. I don't know.
I don't really even have an awareness of genetics either, so
I just know how my genetics are affecting me on a day-to-day basis.
Just know my salt is high, okay?
I used to have a lot of salt, and then when I was younger, I used to I literally anytime I would go outside for anything, I would just have salt mines across my face.
Oh my god, so it's precipitating on
whoa. My knees were covered in salt, forehead, whenever I would work out or get hot and sweaty. Yeah. It's cool because that was my normal for most of my life up until about 2019, January 2019. I started taking a novel medication called a CFTR modulator. So what the modulator does is it helps correct the channel in the cell. So like at a very molecular level, it's helping me in my body. And since starting that, a lot has happened since starting that medication. But one of the things is now I don't get the salt mines that accumulate on my body anymore, which is cool. It's working. But yeah, so that's CF.
What would have, okay, so you mentioned the new treatment. What had you been doing treatment wise up until the new thing?
So like I said, in CF, there's a lot of accumulation of mucus. It's a gross disease. It's just disgusting. Like mucus is so gross. And so the ultimate goal, my day-to-day ultimate goal, is to get rid of as much mucus as possible to help me breathe. And it's a lot of what I was doing was very simple, sort of like simple things like to help loosen those secretions in my lungs. So what I was doing were what was called like chest physical therapy, where I would put on this vest that would inflate and vibrate, and like the intention of those vibrations and those percussions was to help loosen the secretions, and like I would have to like manually try to like cough up as much as possible. And I would do a lot of different inhaled therapies, and so I guess I'll go through them with you.
Yeah, only as much as you want.
Yeah. So I would do like a bronchodilator, which means I would do an inhaler that would help open up the airways, and that would help open up the space to help obviously like get rid of the mucus and help me breathe. And then I would do something called hypertonic saline, 7%, which is just a simple saline solution. That was 7% salt, and the function of that was to help bring moisture into my lungs and also help loosen those secretions as well. And because of the salinity levels, it was an irritant, so it helped me cough all that mucus out. And then after I would do the chest physical therapy, and then after that, I would do some sort of inhaled antibiotic because my lungs cultured a chronic infection, or they still do. The infection that I have is called Pseudomonas aeruginosa. And so I was on a routine of doing antibiotics, 2 or 3 different antibiotic rotation throughout the year to help control the infection in my lungs. If not, then if that infection were to exacerbate, it would cause me more problems and issues with breathing and just getting sicker, and just like I was just trying to maintain the baseline throughout my day to day. And yeah, so I would do that treatment regimen mornings, evenings, and nighttime. And it took anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour and a half, just depending on how I felt, how congested my lungs felt.
Each treatment? Mm-hmm. So like maybe 3 hours a day?
Yeah. So on a good day, I could get by with 25 minutes of treatments. But a lot of days weren't good days. A lot of days were just that my lungs were congested, my lungs were inflamed, and I needed to be able to breathe. So I would spend 30, 35, an hour, sometimes hours.
Yeah.
There were days that there were days that just were harder. Sometimes I would be because something in the air was bothering my lungs. Sometimes it would be because, the day before I maybe drank some alcohol. That sounds ridiculous. But yeah, like little things could irritate my lungs, and I would have to deal with the congestion later. And sometimes there were things that I couldn't pinpoint why I was more congested, and it would spend a lot of time just sitting there doing treatments and trying to get rid of it as much as possible. There were days, there were mornings at like 3 a.m. in the morning I would wake up with a massive cough attack, and that would last hours, and I couldn't get it under control, and I would lose sleep. Just trying to not cough. And I would wake up and do treatments, or just to sort of get some sort of control, just settle in comfortably. But yeah. And that was my daily treatment regimen, was those treatments that I shared with you, some sort of inhaled antibiotic, and then an array of different medication, a lot of different vitamins. And there was, before that, a lot of the medications that I was taking were just addressing symptoms. They were never addressing like any issues. A lot of Mucinex. And then inevitably, I would always get an exacerbation. Inevitably, like the infection in my lungs would get, I guess, quote unquote, out of control, and I would have to do more invasive sort of treatments like IV antibiotics.
And that entails like going to the hospital or the doctor.
Yeah, so that entails going to the hospital and at least being there for 2 or 3 days to start IV antibiotics, and then I would do it at home and finish IV antibiotics at home.
So like 3 days at a time?
Yeah, and that was
minimum?
then that was like a short visit.
Oh my goodness.
That's a short visit. So like for me, when I would do IV antibiotics, I would do antibiotic IVs for 2 weeks. Sometimes I would do that inpatient, just kind of depending on how I felt and, like the agreement that I had with my doctor. But a lot of times I would do it at home. And that was a minimum 2-week stay. Before Trikafta, I was on IVs twice a year, like every 6 months.
Because you would just have a flare up or...
Yeah.
So this is all happening since you're like 9 years old?
Yeah.
Were the medical visits that, like, were they just consistently from when you were diagnosed? Like, were they just consistently like that? Or was it like a build up? Like, had you just been spending all that time doing treatments and going to the hospital like at the age of 9?
So when you say medical visits, do you mean like just like hospitalizations?
Yeah.
So I didn't start doing IVs until I was probably 13.
Okay.
But from 13 on, definitely every year, minimum 2 hospitalizations. And protocol for people with CF is that you have a clinic visit with a pulmonologist and your overall CF team every 3 months. And that was ideal. Oftentimes I was seen more often than that. Yeah. Oftentimes something would prop up. It didn't necessarily mean I was admitted, but I definitely had to be seen more often than that. Yeah, so that was CF. That is CF. Is a world full of hospital visits and medications and sort of trying to control almost the uncontrollable and the inevitable. I would finish a round of IV antibiotics and I would like make goals to try and go so many months without being on IV.
Oh no.
Like, it wasn't like this is done, don't have to worry about this for a while. It was like, this is done, but inevitably something else it's going to happen again.
Right.
And as you get older with CF and you progress with CF, oftentimes the time in between IV antibiotics, the time in between exacerbations, the time in between getting sick becomes shorter and shorter. And you're becoming sick more and more frequently,
So you're saying the intensity lessens, or like the likelihood of the exacerbations is Or no, you're saying the time in between gets shorter. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So you're just
I
getting
was thinking
sicker.
the other way. So,
No,
okay,
it would have been ideal.
And I was like, oh, cool. So it gets better as you get older.
No. It's the opposite. It gets worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just like the whole time you were talking was just thinking about how were you feeling as like a 10-year-old? Like what in the world was going on in your head? Like,
as a 9 or 10-year-old, when I was diagnosed,
I'm sure you probably, your
really,
brain was like, we're going to keep you safe and just pretend like this isn't happening.
Right. I think that's what was going on. Like, I just don't think I had any, like, I couldn't conceptualize, like, what was going on. I don't know if I couldn't. I just don't remember what was going on then.
Yeah. Like, how did the whole school thing work? Like, were you being taken out of school? Did you start homeschooling? Like, what happened with all that?
At diagnosis, I was sick often. And I was missing school a lot. I actually remember that my mom my parents were sent a what is that
like
called?
a truancy thing.
A truancy thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but I mean, I had all the medical records to show that I was like legitimately sick. But yeah, that was fourth. I was diagnosed in 3rd grade. In 4th grade, diagnosed into 3rd grade, and then I was in public school at that point, and it was miserable for me because I was being bullied a lot. And
because of being sick?
I think it was like there was that.
Or just like
that I think it was like regular like bullying.
Oh yeah.
And then like also like having been sick, I think was like also something that there was a particular group of girls who just like did not like me, and they were bullying me. And so my mom put me in Catholic schools, and but it worked out in my favor. Like that really worked out in my favor.
Yeah.
Being at a small Catholic school added an extra like layer of protection because I was in such a small community. My parents knew my teachers and were able to like talk to my teachers like one-on-one. They didn't have as many students, so that really helped a lot. And they all knew what was going on with my health. And they were very gracious with me. And as I get older, I realize, and like talking to my other friends with CF, they didn't have that same experience as like as an elementary school child. It wasn't until high school that I started having a lot more problems with school systems. Like my first high school that I went to, I think it was more of a me sort of situation of not wanting to be there at the school. I wanted to be with my friends at an all-girls private school. And so I left, but I did have some really great teachers, aside from one particular English teacher who, whenever I was sick, and like Madeline at this point in my life as a 14-year-old girl, I was very, very sick. I was like in the hospital, like coughing up blood, like not like coughing up a lot of blood, you know, like this was my, what was going on as a high schooler. That would happen to me a lot was that I wasn't just having exacerbations where I needed IVs at this point. It was like I was coughing up blood, and I was coughing up massive amounts of blood to the point where like there were points as a 14-year-old I was like, I think I'm going to die right now. And I had one teacher who would just tell the class that she like openly tell my class that she thought that I needed to be pulled out of school, and she didn't know how I was going to pass classes. And so because of her, I think that prompted me to go to school with you, but that wasn't that great either. I had a lot of issues with being able to make up tests, and I had a lot of like tension between different teachers who really didn't want to make any accommodations for me. And while the majority of the teachers that I did have were very, very accommodating and very gracious and wanted to do whatever they could do. I'm thinking like Miss Steffen. A lot of people didn't like Miss Steffen, but Miss Steffen wanted to go like 10 extra miles just to make sure that I was like able to learn and like that I was okay. But it was hard for me to accept that. It was hard for me to accept that those
That
accommodations.
your teachers were kind of, I mean, almost abandoning you in a sense. Or just like not. Like, well, you're like, well, I can't really do anything either.
Right. Well, like with Miss Stefan, she wasn't abandoning me. She was trying to do whatever she could to help me.
You're saying you were feeling weird about that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was thinking you were feeling weird about the teachers not being willing to help, but you're like, why do you want to help me, kind of?
Yeah, I just didn't want it. I wasn't even in a situation of like, why do you want to help me? It was like, I didn't want the extra help.
Oh, interesting.
I didn't want that.
Like maybe it just made you feel that much more not normal.
Right. I think that's what it was. And then there was this Miss Stefan and Miss Alserick was also amazing. There were these teachers who wanted to help me and like see me thrive, and then there were teachers who were awful, who did not care. I missed my algebra exam because I was in the hospital, and my teacher at the time did not want to let me have the opportunity to even take the test.
Right.
And I think those experiences weighed heavier on me because they were so blunt and cruel that it was harder to accept where people were helping me. So yeah, it was hard carrying being in school and being sick at the same time. I think in high school, especially, I was a lot sicker. I was sick very often, and it was very big things. It was just coughing, or it's called hemoptysis, which is when you cough up blood. And it was hard to balance all of that. It was hard to balance being sick and then trying to keep up with school and then wanting a social life and just being like a 14, 15, 16-year-old girl. In retrospect, I can look at that situation and look at that circumstance in my life and be like, wow, that's a lot. But at the time, I would have felt severely inadequate and I wasn't doing enough. When it was just hard, when it was just that was the base of it. It was just hard. And I did the best that I could. And I learned that particular Catholic school, I went to 3 schools in high school. And I left the second one because I wasn't getting any accommodations. And so I went to public schools where by law, you have to accommodate your students. And I finished out high school at a public school, and I started off in person, but I think it got really hard. This was my senior year, and I think that just got really hard for me. So I switched to doing homebound, which just means that you are able to stay home, or
which is what we know as virtual school now.
It's basically virtual schooling, but also they send a teacher out to monitor all of your progress, and so that's how I finished out high school.
That's cool that somebody was able to do that for you.
Yeah, it was cool. It was nice to have somebody be there. And I really think that I was able to I feel like my high school experience, I feel like I just didn't get a whole lot out of it because I was sick so often. So I think a lot of my foundational skills that I have are directly from middle school. Had I not had that experience, had I not been in private schools, private Catholic school as a middle schooler, I would have been so behind. And I just wonder how I would have been different academically had I been in school consistently. I wonder what my grades. I was able to keep up my grades because a lot of the times I had teachers who were very gracious with me. But I'm thinking of ACT testing and stuff like that. Would that have been higher had I just had a more consistent foundation? What would that look like?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, you still turned out to be a hell of a writer.
Yeah, I did. And I really think that was Miss Neiman, like 6th grade. Like, I think Miss Neiman really, I don't know what it was. Like, so shout out to her for being able to formulate sentences and make them cohesive.
You're like, shout out.
Shout out to her.
I mean, and I don't know if you were there long enough to get the benefits, but I do feel like IC really I have to give IC a lot of credit for my writing foundation too. Would you have had, you were there freshman year?
No, I was there sophomore year.
Okay. Well, at least you had Miss Alsabrook.
Yeah, so I had Miss Alsabrook, and like, honestly, I don't remember. I really don't remember being in school. I just remember being out of school and trying to keep up with school.
Yeah.
That's like my memory of high school altogether, is like being sick and trying to keep up.
I don't feel like you missed that much.
I don't think I missed that much either. As a 16-year-old, I would have been freaking out.
Right.
I was freaking out on a daily basis. But in retrospect, I was like, I think I was.
Thank God I did not have to go through.
That sounds like a hell. Like, that just sounds like some weird torment and torture that I'm glad that I'm not glad that I missed out on that. But, like, you know, it really wasn't that big of a deal, you know?
Sure, yeah.
It really wasn't that big of a deal in the entertainment and media that we had at that point. I think, like, glorified it. And so I felt like I was missing out. But it wasn't.
Okay, so I guess fast forward again.
Okay.
And you started the new
Trikafta
treatment.
Yeah, the new modulator.
And so you were telling me the differences when we met the other day and how, like, transformative that was. Like,
yeah.
Can you talk about that and how basically it was kind of like night and day for you?
Yeah. It's such a bizarre experience altogether. So I started it's called Trikafta. It's a CFTR modulator, so it helps with the little channel in my cells. It helps it to work normally.
I can only imagine like a sheepdog and like the sheep. Get in here, little salt guys.
Get in and get out. Like, just like I honestly just imagine like folding, like something like being folded, and like, you know, I don't know. I imagine like a road and like road blocks, you know. That's what I think of when I think of the channel. But anyway, so since taking it, God, that was night and day for me. I started taking it, and I didn't know what to expect. I had been on other modulators before. I had been in another trial before, and I did see benefit. But at this point in my life, I think I was very depressed. I was very depressed, very sad, and like coming to the realization that, like, wow, CF is really just hard and just shitty. And so I didn't have like a whole lot of expectation. I was in the trial for it, in the clinical trial for it. So I started off with like 6 months on a placebo, or not, you know, a double blind. I was in the double blind study. So I, like, you know, half of the participants are on the placebo, half are on the actual study drug. And
but the doctors don't know, right?
Nobody knows. Nobody knows what you're on. And so
they're like, we don't know what we gave you, right. So we don't know.
Right, exactly. Like, they're just monitoring me. Like, they're like, we don't know what we gave you. Continue as if you're taking placebo. And I was like, okay, cool. And so that's what I did. And like, I was convinced I was on the actual study drug, and that my disease just like wasn't getting better. Like, that's how I felt for 6 months. I was like, this is the actual study drug and it doesn't help. And so like, this is not going to get any better. I was even admitted to the hospital at one point coughing up blood. So I started like in August of 2018, and then I started coughing up blood in October. So I was admitted for 2 weeks, and I was like, look, see, this shit doesn't work.
Told you.
It doesn't work. It's like, there's no hope for me. And I was like, just kind of like getting comfortable with like being like perpetually uncomfortable and sick. And I think that response and like that headspace I was in was just sort of like reflective of like so many times I had been sick, like gotten sick so abruptly and so suddenly that it was just sort of like a coping mechanism to just assume the worst. And 6 months were up. I rolled over into the second part of the study where I was given actual study drug. And I took the first dose and I was like, this is not going to be, I've been taking this for the last 6 months. Nothing's going to change. But like a very small part of me was like, oh, I don't know, maybe be different. Oh my God. I started taking that medicine and my whole world did like a 180. For the first couple weeks. Okay, so like to preface, I had no idea like what to expect because like I'm like a guinea pig for this shit. So like I have no idea what to expect of like what's gonna come out. But for the first couple of weeks I was like coughing up all this shit from my lungs. Like it's just so much mucus coming out of my lungs. It just felt like so for context, like the mucus that comes out of my lungs on a normal basis is like very thick and sticky and very gross. And it's like it's dark green, and dark green means like it's infection. But I was coughing up just like all this. It felt like a faucet had turned on. All this mucus was
like
just coming
that
out
cat
of me.
that's throwing out rainbow. That filter.
Well, no, this isn't rainbow colored. It was like clear sputum, and I was like, I've never seen my mucus this like beautifully like.
You're like, I need to keep this.
This is like, I've never seen it, but there's a lot coming out of me. Like, wow, this is a lot of mucus. I was like, I don't know, is it working? I don't know. There's a change in the color and the consistency it's not thick anymore. What's going on? That was really weird. And that was for a couple of weeks. And then finally it subsided. And then I was like, huh. Like I can breathe like pretty easy. Like I like wake up in the morning and I can breathe like without any issues. I'm not coughing throughout the day. I think that was a really big one for me. It was like I was on my day to day. I was coughing all the time, and I think that's how. That's how people like would recognize me. It was like through my cough. But I started to have like long stretches of time where I wasn't coughing, and it wasn't clearing my throat. And then I just had all of this energy. I had like this untapped resource of energy. I was like, wow, I can wake up at early in the day and go to bed like at 11 o'clock at night. And, I'm tired, but I'm not like physically drained. Like I'm not just completely depleted. And that was weird for me. I was like, whoa. This is what everybody's on. Like they're on like a normal, like there was this light bulb moment where I was like, now I understand how my friends do it. I get it. I get how they are able to like maintain jobs and school and all of it. They have the energy to fucking do it.
Right.
And that was so bizarre.
How far were you in taking it at this point?
Maybe a month in. I'm just like sort of like I was just like putting together the pieces. Like, all of a sudden like I guess like this like weight is lifted off of you, and you're like I was starting to notice like, okay, I'm not coughing, my mucus looks beautiful. Honestly, needs to like be like save this for the rest of my life.
Somebody give me a medal.
My mucus looks good, and like I'm not coughing, and I have energy. What is this? And it was just like surreal. I was like, whoa, this is awesome. I feel good. And I didn't know what good felt like. I thought I had an idea of what good feels like. And I'm like, that shit was wrong. Like, that shit was off. My idea of feeling good was totally like my baseline for good is what I would consider sick today. And that's a fucked up thing to acknowledge in my life. So like before Trikafta, when I was feeling good, like I had like energy where I thought.
Oh, like your old good.
My old good is my sick today.
Now. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's its own emotional mess that I have to like work through. And so like I was feeling well. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And in the study trial, I'm not allowed to see like any of my numbers. So like I'm not allowed to see like, so like to do the trials, I do all sorts of fun tests.
Are you still in it?
I'm still in the trial.
Okay.
And I'm not allowed to see my numbers. So I had to wait till I went to the doctor, to my regular clinic, CF clinic, to see how I was doing lung-wise. And so with CF, one of the measures in engaging lung health is called the pulmonary function testing. And so the way it works is basically, I don't know, maybe you may have done it. Did you say you had asthma?
I don't
think they had asthma today.
I don't think I've ever done a pulmonary function
testing,
yeah.
but the PFTs for short. Basically, what you do is you're supposed to blow into this machine, and you with all the force possible. And what it's gauging is how many liters of oxygen you blow out in a certain amount of time. And I think there are certainly different measurements within like PFTs altogether. But what I'm looking at is like my FEV1, which is like the amount of oxygen that I'm expelling it in a certain amount of time. And I'm also looking at like my lower airways and how well they're working all together. And so my baseline for my FEV1 was 60%. Always 60%. Yeah, it was between 60 and 70 or 60 and 67%. And then I go into clinic after a month of taking Trikafta, and I'm like, again, I may be feeling well, but that's probably placebo effect. And I doubt, like, if anything, 10%, like that's, which I would be happy with, I would be fine. Well, 77%, like if I can make it, or like 70%, that would be great. I'm not going to complain. And I do PFTs, and I look up my numbers. I'm one of those patients who's like does the test, and then I like immediately go to the computer and like, let me see my numbers. And I'm like squinting, and I'm looking over like the respiratory therapist, and I'm like, does that say 84%? And he's like, yeah. And I looked at him, I was like, is your machine broken? He goes, it's been working all morning. And I was like, are you sure? And he's like, no, it's been working all morning. I was like, okay, the machine's broken, but you don't know it.
Oh my God.
And so I go to the clinic room, and I'm like my like nerves are about to like pop out of my body. I'm like, what does this mean? And my pulmonologist walks in, and she's like perky and happy. And I'm like, are these numbers right? And she goes, you are the fourth patient who's been the trial. You are my confirmation that the medicine's working. And I was like,
you're like,
oh shit, what do I do? Like, I'm like, part of me is like crying, and the other part of me is like, I'm like, but Dr. Miller, like, when is this going to be over? Like, when is it going to like not work? Like that was legitimately my first question. I was like, okay, that's great. So when is it going to stop working? So like, this is all great. And she was like, well, I mean, it's working at a cellular level. Like theoretically, it's not like an antibiotic where the bacteria can develop resistancy. Like this is theoretically like sort of for like the rest of your life. And I was like,
so it's supposed to be rebuilding these channels?
No, not rebuilding. It's just I guess,
is it only modulating while you're taking it?
Yeah, so it's only working while I'm taking it.
So theoretically, you would be taking this for the
forever,
okay.
Right? So it's something that I would have to take for the rest of my life. And assuming that there's like no other like new therapies that I could go on and stuff. So yeah, so she was like, yeah, like this is not like an antibiotic where you would develop resistancy. Theoretically, like it's gonna be working for a long time. And I was like, okay. And like, I'm just like very thrilled and excited and about that. And yeah, no, my dad was that was the first time he had ever gone to CF clinic with me. And we went and celebrated and got bagels. And I go to clinic in Nashville. So we went to go get bagels, and Mumford & Sons was playing that night. So we went to the concert. And like I got home, and like I had an existential crisis for like 6 months. I was like, I have no idea what to do with this information. Like I was crying every night. Like I was just it was, I was crying out of pure joy and happiness for the long time. And then I was like, what do I do? And the first way I learned to, like, the way that, like, my brain was processing, like, this idea of, like, what do I do? Like, was, like, went immediately to my sexuality. And, like, I'm pretty straight. Like, I'm definitely very straight. I've really never thought about my sexuality, like, beyond men. And then all of a sudden, like, this question of, like, am I gay, though, starts coming up. And I was like, I don't think I'm gay. Like, but it would drive me into panic attacks. Like, I remember, like, being on the floor, like, crying. Like, I have no idea, like, what my sexuality is anymore. And my dad actually talked me through this one. He was like, well, I mean, everybody thinks that they're gay at one point. And I was like, I don't know. I think this is something bigger. And I mean, I would have this conversation a lot. It's like, it would start off, like, with the question of whether I'm gay, but the more I, like, explored the question, it was like, I'm on this new medicine and I have no idea what to do with it. I'm on this new medicine and I have all of this stuff that I never had to, like, I can never confront, because all this trauma and, like, fear and questions that I really can never confront, because I was continuously within, like, the
you
scope.
were busy.
Yeah, I was busy. I was doing stuff. I was trying to stay alive.
Right.
Now that I'm not, like, trying to stay alive, like, I can explore those questions and ask myself, like, what do I want to do with my life? And I'm still in that spot. I'm, like, it's been 2 years and I'm just, like, still there. I mean, we've had, like, a pandemic in the middle of it. So
Right.
But, like, I'm still in this spot of, like, I don't know how to process this. Like, I don't know what to do with it. Like, I don't know what to do with this new health. And it's crazy. It's just a really crazy spot, because I don't think I could have, I don't think any of us could have fathomed, like, we all talked about, like, we talk about a cure and, like, finding the cure for CF and X, Y, and Z, and it just sounds like a beautiful sort of, like, far away, like, dreamland,
Right.
like, that you can't really, like, conceptualize. But here we are with something that isn't a cure, but it's the closest thing that we have. And I think a lot of patients with CF just sort of are kind of in shock, like, in this a state of shock, a state of awe. I tell a lot of people that I'm like, it's like this, it's like the complete opposite of being diagnosed with a terminal illness, but it's the same emotions. Like, it's like a lot of the similar emotions that you have to process, but I guess I'm doing it backwards. I'm like, oh, now I have to process, like, a lot, like,
Yeah.
25 years worth of, like,
I know, like, having to undo all of those
things. There was a point where, and I probably still will do this, but so I do my study clinic at Le Bonheur, and I'm in the old hospital, and, like, I walk in that hospital and I just, like, get overwhelmed with emotion, because I'm like, oh my God, this is the place where I've had most of my, like, CF related, like, scary experiences, but it's also the place where I've been able to heal, like, through those experiences, and also apparently through Trikafta. Like, I'm having it's all coming around, or what is that called?
full circle.
Full circle.
Yeah,
coming full circle here. So, yeah,
that's insane.
it's insane. It is insane, and nobody, like, has, like, a guidebook on how to deal with this shit.
I mean, you're a good writer.
I am a good writer. Like, that is true, but, like, I just don't know how to, like, approach this big subject. It's cool. It's a really cool experience.
I mean, I'm sure it's gonna take
a while.
Nearly as long as it took to, like, wrap your brain around it, to unwrap your brain around it.
Right. And,
I mean,
like,
hopefully not 28 more years, but
I hope not. I look for guidance from my friends who've, like, experienced transplant. I think there's a lot of, especially, like, I guess in the CF community, there's a lot of overlap there. I mean, it's the same experience of, like, being very sick and, like, having your lungs like, work against you, it feels like. So I find a lot of similarities and overlap in in sharing those experiences with one another. But it feels like the Trikafta experience is like a shortcut. Like you get to bypass the whole like, I don't know, massive surgery of getting somebody else's organs inside your body and like being on like very low levels of or like functioning on low oxygen levels and like lung capacity altogether. But yeah, like I think that's the only thing like I can really compare it to. Or I don't think there are very many other. I mean, for a while there, I was like, well, what's the closest experience to this? Like, I was thinking like maybe cancer patients, but I don't even think that's like a comparable experience because most cancer patients aren't like dealing with they're diagnosed, like there's like a diagnosis date and then like, hopefully like a remission date. But there's like a person who like had a life that they knew without cancer, you know, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas like for me, it's like I never had a life without CF, you know, like, it was just always there.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to like unravel that, and like it's weird. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's traumatic.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about it the other day, like just that whole identity change, like, and you just said it, like you didn't really have life before it. That was your life, and like now it's like life after or life without.
Or like, I mean, CF is still there. Like,
sure, yeah.
It's still there. I still have to like cater to my body, but not with as much. It doesn't take as much time from my day. It doesn't take as much resources from my body to deal with my body, you know?
Yeah.
It doesn't take as much of my energy. And I can distance myself from it. And that feels weird. It's like, it feels really weird being distant from CF. And that's disorienting. I think in a lot of senses, like CF helped me develop like a purpose. Whether that purpose was like to stay alive every day or to like want to be a part of the CF community and like be an advocate for people with CF. But now that I'm experiencing this side of health, part of me is like, well, is that really where I want to be? Do I really want to stay here, like in the CF community? And whether intentionally or not, like I've definitely drifted away from that. Like I was saying earlier, like I think it was before we started recording, I was like, yeah, like before Trikafta would talk about CF often, and then there's been like this period of like the pandemic and post Trikafta where I feel like, I don't know, like I've like, do I bring up CF as much as is it as big of a deal? And
was that around the time that you were talking about, like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it coincide. They all coincide.
Where you were just like, oh, well, it's not really like me anymore.
Right, exactly. So it's like we're this period of time where I'm like, before Trikafta, it was very easy for me to bring up CF and just not feel like ashamed about it. I was like, this is my life and this is my reality, and so you know what, we're gonna bring it up. And then after Trikafta, I'm like, what do I do with it? Like, what do I do with all of this? You know, do I
like come and give them the whole spiel?
I'm like, this is the whole spiel, but it's really not affecting me that much. It's not that big of a deal. But it still is, even though it's not as obvious in my day to day. It's still affecting me. It's definitely like, I think definitely before Trikafta, I would have like definitely identified with CF as me being my disease, and that was easy for me to say, and I can still justify that. And whereas now I'm like, I don't know anymore. Like I have space to like develop my identity more so, and I'm like, how do I do that? Like how do I do that? How do I develop my identity a little bit more? What does that look like? Where does CF come into play?
Right.
Like how do I incorporate all of these pieces of who I am? So
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be the rest of your life too.
Right.
And where does it all fit?
Yeah, and I think that's like what's true for most people, whether or not they have CF. I think we're all kind of sort of trying to make it all fit together and live with some, whether we're aware of it or not, we develop a framework for what we call our identity, and who we are, and what we stand for, what we believe our purpose is, and X, Y, and Z, and that feels, for me right now, feels very strange because I'm like, I don't know what framework. I don't know. I am a lot of different things, or I resonate with a lot of different stuff, but I also, it feels like this whole Trikafta experience just feels like anything is up for grabs though. Like anything like can flip on a dime. Like apparently like, and but that's also the flow of life and the universe as well. It's like things are constantly ebbing and flowing. And I feel like if I latch onto one thing, I guess this is like fear. I fear that like if I latch onto something, then I get too close to it, and I don't create room for other aspects of who I am, and I think that I think it just overwhelms me. Like I think it's just overwhelmed. Like the whole concept of identity overwhelms me. I just much prefer it to be something that's an open space, I mean, I show up oftentimes as somebody who's very like loud and boisterous and fun and friendly, but sometimes I don't show up as that person, and I think that's okay. So I don't know, I'm going on like on a tangent here, so.
No, you're good. Yeah, I'm just trying to feel out the whole thing. But yeah, and we were talking about the identity piece too. Just
Yeah, identity is hard. It's weird. It's just weird to like, I don't know. I feel like I feel like for a long time, and for a huge part of my life, I would tell myself, and I would hear it from other people or echoed back to me, that CF isn't who I am. CF is just a part of you. It's not all of you. And I think that's sort of true. But there came a point where as I was getting sicker and I was becoming more pessimistic, I was like, no, CF is who I am. Like CF has affected every part of my life. I think it's very valid to say like, yeah, CF is my identity. Even my therapist like disagreed with me on that. She was like, that's not all of who you are. And I was like, well,
current or previous, like at the time?
We're on a break.
Sure.
We're on a break with one another.
We're seeing other people.
And I think that with Trikafta, and as I evaluate that, for a little while, I can understand why people would be eager to like separate the two. Like CF is something different, and you are different from, you aren't CF. Like CF is not who you are. I can get that. I can get why you'd want to not enmesh those two, because I mean, in a lot of ways, CF can be seen as something limiting and a barrier. But like the more I think about it, the more I see and I observe other people, I see oftentimes a lot of people have the tendency to like identify themselves through their body, like through their physical like being, and I just think to myself, like if an able-bodied person can like identify themselves as this physical form is who I am, then why can't I say, hey, like this CF, which affects every single cell of this body, like, yes, this is who I am. Like,
right.
This is how I express myself through this body. And so I think it's very valid, because like whatever I do, whatever I say, however I act, is going to be channeled through a body that has CF. And I think that is perfectly okay. Like, I don't think there's any problem with that. And in a sense, is it empowering? Yeah, in a sense, like, it's okay. I would have fucking loved it as a child to see other people own and claim their diseases rather than like me like constantly trying to like find space for myself and like trying to meet status quo, what was being portrayed as status quo, like what was normal.
Yeah. Kind of just going back to that whole like vulnerability thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like I would have loved to see that, and not very many people did do that. In the CF community, again, like a lot of the, at the time, like growing up, it was like the whole concept of like, I am not my disease, you know, a disease is just a part of my disease is just a part of my life. That's what I saw. And by nature, like, I'm not somebody who I want to fit in. I try to fit in, but by nature, like, I guess it just like creates more anxiety, and like it just doesn't work for me. So I talk, and like that's why I would share everything that I have shared on social media about my life with CF, is because it was a way for me to process what was going on. It was a way for me to like to acknowledge that these are big things, and that I didn't fit. Like I couldn't make it all work. Like I couldn't like hide. Like I couldn't hide CF. And then I had done that for so long, and then I got healthy. It's still weird for me to say I got healthy.
You're like, I'm not healthy.
Yeah, and like I got healthy, and then I was like, oh, what do I do? Now what do I talk about? And so this morning I was like, this morning I had this like, you know what? I'm going to keep talking about CF. I'm just going to see where it takes me. Like, still, I'm going to keep talking about this damn disease and like how it's affected me, because it's my point of vulnerability, and vulnerability is what I'm good at. I talk a lot.
Well, and I think too, you kind of shared it, but like just, yeah, the identity kind of being ever changing and ever evolving, and like not rigid and not limited, but like, oh shit, I forgot where I was going with that. But like, I feel like you say, it's valid to say that you are CF, but then I think also it's okay for you to come outside of that too and say like you were kind of going on about the body. Like, yes, this is how I'm expressing myself through this body, but like, who am I beyond this body?
Right.
Like,
right.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I think that, I think I found myself to be somebody who really believes in like, in the idea or the concept that two contrasting ideas or truths can both be true at the same time, even though they don't seem like it. Like, that's just how
she's talking about duality.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think I wrote about that. That was like my first piece that I had ever written for an actual like foundation. I was like, both can be true at the same time. It can be true that I have CF and it is my identity, but like it also, like you were saying, it can also be true. I can also hold in the other hand that I encompass much more than CF, you know? Yeah, but I think where I have issues is like, how do you communicate that? How do you like share that? Like, yes, CF is me, but also there's a lot more to me than just CF. You know, that doesn't seem like it just doesn't. It's not neat and perfect little box. You know, like check. It makes sense.
It doesn't have to be,
and it doesn't have to be. And I think that's where I think that's where people like trip themselves up. Is that like it has to like make sense, and it just doesn't. It doesn't make sense. And so, yeah, like you were saying that I was saying, like it just it just ebbs and flows. It just like comes and goes. It waxes and it wanes, and you know, you bring in all these different dimensions of who you are, and you try to make some sort of cohesion into it. And it's been weird and confusing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, for example, like, you know, just like what are other aspects of my identity? I've been talking about CF for so long. I'm like, I don't know. Are there any other things that I can talk about anymore? I don't know.
You're Venezuelan, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, just being Venezuelan and being a child of an immigrant adds in a total another lived experience that a lot of people don't have. I think
your parents.
Yeah, so my mom is from Venezuela. My mom moved here when she was 18 to go to school, and then she stayed.
Your dad was already living here?
Yeah, my dad's from here. My dad's born and raised Memphian.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so it's like
that's another part of your identity.
Another exactly. Oh, Madeline's like, let's find out who Luisa is. She's raised Catholic.
Oh my gosh.
Raised Catholic from Memphis, has a mom who's from Venezuela.
But I mean that exactly
These are all
what you were
exactly
just saying. Like there's so many dimensions.
Right, exactly. And like if I like for a while there I was like very like Latina, like, and like I was like, yeah, I'm saucy and I'm sexy and I'm like because this is what Latinas do. They're saucy, sexy, and loud, and like they're gonna fight you or they're gonna express their experience.
Fight.
I don't fight.
As she gets louder.
I don't fight. I honestly am honest. Like I get loud, but I don't know how to fight. Like I don't know how to fight people. Yeah. I'm just like I get confused in fights. I'm like, wait, why was I mad in the first place? I don't know why I'm here. What am I mad about again?
Let's just talk about it.
I'm sorry for whatever I did. Like I like to pretend that I'm like, this is very assertive, like knows what she wants, and like, or I guess I'm not that assertive. I'm just like, again, it's that like idea of balancing. I'm like, assertiveness, let things flow. I don't know which one do I go with. Like, and then I get paralyzed by like that decision. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what does life want me to do? Stop. I just like want to not make decisions for once. There's
right.
It's overwhelming for me.
I wonder if you have Gemini in your chart because you sound like you're describing my life.
I don't know what I have. I just know that I'm a Leo.
She's a Leo.
I just know I'm a Leo. I was born on the 28th of July at 3:15 in the afternoon, 1993.
Oh my God. I'm like, I just need to look it up. You were born here? You were born here, you said?
I was born here.
Okay.
I don't know what, like...
I haven't really brought that much astrology on the podcast, but if you know me, then you know that I am kind of nerdy about it. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I have been trying to figure out duality and understand how to incorporate it in my life too. So hearing you talk about it, it's like, again, another like vulnerable thing, creating a connection. Like, cool, someone else knows what it's like to feel like pulled in two different directions and have no idea what to do.
And
just
like,
sit there.
Honestly, it's like more than 2 different directions. It's like 15 different directions. You're like, I don't know which way I want to go.
Right.
Because part of what you hear is, be assertive and like, go after what you want. And then
you said 3:15.
Yeah. Or maybe 3:15 in the afternoon.
Well, and then it's also like having to differentiate between like what is it that other people want me to do versus what do I want to do. And that's been a big lesson for me, like caring about what other people think and what I think other people want me to do or be. And then it's like, well, none of that matters.
Right. Like let's unpack that. Like I'm curious to know like what that experience is for you and like where has it surfaced the most for you. And
you mean caring about what other people think?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think I just like have never known. It's not submitting. I've never been in a place where I felt confident in trusting myself. Like I've always felt like I needed to satisfy someone else or be a chameleon to appease someone, or like whether that was my parents or teachers, or like, oh, if I'm this person, then I will make them happy, and then either they won't be mad or they won't reject me or abandon me or things like that. And so I think constantly doing that for everyone in your whole entire life, you lose the connection with who you are and who you truly are at your core, because you're trying to be all these different things and all these different things for people.
And I'm sure that's like very exhausting exhausting and emotionally taxing, and probably hard to keep up with.
For sure.
For you.
Yeah, and like, yeah, I'm like trying to think. I'm like, no one ever interviews me on my podcast. Not that you're not allowed to. I'm just like caught off guard. Yeah, like really probably within the last few years, I have been looking more inward and like trying to figure out like, what does Madeline want? Who is Madeline? Like, essentially going back to the identity thing, like, because I have tried to be all these different things for other people, I don't know who I am.
Right.
I don't know what I want or who I am or what I like or what I don't like. And so my life the last few years has been like, okay, well, fuck everybody else. Like, who are you? Like, what do you want? Like, I've shared on my podcast before, but I was literally like pursuing a degree in engineering because I thought that it would make me a lot of money, and I thought that's what would make my family proud, and I thought that's what I could do with my intellect, and like I had to drop out because I got depressed because it's not what I wanted to do, and like I feel like my body knew, and it was like, okay, hold on, we can't do this anymore.
Right. Like, it's a lot. That's a lot of work. It's overwhelming. I remember when my friends were going through engineering school, I was like, oh my God. First of all, I can't like do 2 + 2, so good God.
Sure you can.
Okay, I can't do 2 + 2. That wasn't fair. Like the quadrant. The square root of anything. Like,
you need formulas for that. It's fine.
Right. Like, but I can imagine that being, it's funny because like I don't think I've really had that experience of like who. Okay, I haven't had the experience of like having to appease myself or appease other people, like to get, be accepted or feel validation or X, Y, and Z. I haven't felt that pressure, and I don't know which I guess is a good thing.
I feel like it would be a whole lot tacking that on to like just trying to survive for you.
Right. I think I'm sure there are plenty of people with CF who experience it, but like I feel like for me the way my brain works, it's just like we're going in one direction and we're one direction and only, and you're going to be who you are.
Like, did you ever have to be like, I guess, like, did you ever have to pretend to be stronger than you were, or like feel this obligation to like for your family? Or
so
for
yeah,
your parents?
that's an interesting question. I never felt an obligation or a sense of like protecting my parents from like seeing my pain, like, and I still don't. I just feel like I don't know if it's because I can't control my emotions or what it is, but I broke down off. I break down often, and I'm very transparent about it with my family. And my mom is, for a long time, she's just like baffled. She's like, get over it. And I'm like, you don't get it. And this is the reasons why we cannot just get over it. This, and this, and this. And you just don't understand what it's like to be sick. And she's like, I just don't understand what it means to be depressed. And I was like, clearly not. We're going to talk about it some more. Like, I didn't know how to mask that. I didn't know how to mask, like, I'm always in awe that people can mask what they're feeling and who they are, because I just can't do it. Like this weekend I was at my grandmother's house we were doing our like last supper there before the house sells, and I just wasn't there emotionally. I was like checked out. Like, I can't do this. And And so I was just awkward and weird and quiet and didn't know what to say. And that's, I think in my head when I was growing up, I thought, oh my God, all of my family and my cousins can just like be here and be present and like be funny and X, Y, and Z. And as I've gotten older, I've realized they're just as fucked up as I am.
Yeah.
They're just good at masking it.
Yeah.
And I just like, I think that like seeing you talk about that and like being able to like be a chameleon and sort of augment yourself to like fit the environment, like I just don't get it how it works. Like I just don't know how to do that. Like I think my brain just like it just fizzles out at some point. If I can't do it, I can't do it. And so yeah, no, I don't know whether that's a good or bad thing. It's just the way it is. Like I just like, if I can't be me, then it's not like if I can't be me, I mean that like if me myself cannot physically show up, or not physically, but like emotionally show up, then it's just not going to happen. Like I can't like fake that. I can't.
That's
fake
cool
it.
though. Like that sounds like some intense boundaries. Like that is admirable to me.
That's so funny that you think that's admirable. I think to me, I feel like it's something that's like,
because I was like depressed for so many years because I wasn't being authentic,
right,
because I wasn't showing up as myself,
as yourself.
And now finally at 28, I'm like, well, fuck that. Like,
right,
I have to show up as me.
Right. How does it feel showing up as yourself in an environment where you're used to sort of being masking yourself? And like,
it's hard. Like,
how does that, like, what's the contrast?
Like, if I could give you a visceral feeling, it would be like you scrape your arm and your skin is like had just been growing and someone like pokes you. Like,
Ooh,
like it's
yeah.
just like you, I mean,
Raw.
you know what it feels like to be vulnerable and like raw, like,
right.
And then people are still hurting and defensive and just will try to shoot arrows at you, maybe unconsciously, and you have to stay in there and act like it doesn't hurt and like hold your composure and tell yourself like these people are hurting. This has nothing to do with you. This has nothing to do with you being authentic. Don't let this experience close you off. And that has been really hard. And I mean, I'm getting better, but like it's still really hard. And like, I think family's the hardest thing too. 'Cause like we just always have these weird, I mean, maybe not everybody struggles with codependency, but I have in my life. And so it's like, I will be excited and that might not get received the same way that I want it to. And like, it stings, like it hurts, but like I have to honor myself and stay true to myself and just be like, look, you are being you. And that's all that matters.
You're showing up as the excited person here. And even though that's not being reciprocated, like that shouldn't be like, don't let that diminish like how you genuinely feel. And, and even though it's not being reciprocated, like, isn't it sort of like kind of cool that you can show up as excited, like you can like feel those emotions? And
I think if we were talking about someone else, it would be really cool. But since it's like, you know, you're talking about yourself, you're like, it's fine.
Me, and like that's interesting. Like, sorry, I just slam my my foot against the
hardwood floor.
But like, it's not that carpet absorbing sound.
I'm sure the microphone didn't pick it up.
But like, I hate that it's so hard for us to celebrate who we are.
I know.
Like, it's so like we're so quick to like celebrate we're very quick to criticize other people, and I try my best to really hold my boundaries there. I think there's room to criticize, or I think there's room to acknowledge like things that don't sit well with you. Maybe not necessarily criticize. We're quick to, but in general, as a population, we're quick to do that. We're a little less quick to celebrate, or maybe like medium. I don't know. We'll get there when we get there.
Right.
But when it comes to us, and I guess it's a circumstance of just like kind of being with yourself all the time, you know, like your brain's analyzing what you do day in and day out every fucking day, like every second of every day. There's for the most part, it's not that novel of an experience.
Right. So like if you're looking like me looking at you, I see you're like, if I was looking at a graph and it was like zoomed out and I saw like your January to December and you're like on an upward trajectory, I'm like, damn, your year was great.
Right.
Meanwhile, you're living like day 1, day 2, day 3, all the way to 365. So it's like the line's barely moving. It's like
exactly.
plateauing,
it's like,
and you're just like, what do you mean?
Right. Yeah. What
This looks horrible.
What betterment are we talking about here?
Right.
Because this day to day is very difficult. And I think maybe that's like the room for patience, where patience comes in with ourselves. And I think if we can practice patience, I think we're better at practicing patience outwardly than we are inwardly. And if we can practice that inside, maybe that helps bring in like that excitement for yourself.
Right.
Or like that joy for yourself, or like
Right.
celebrating you. And I haven't been great at that. I've been opposite of great. I've been awful at that lately. I've been like, Luisa, you don't have a job. And honestly, because you don't have a job, everything else sucks. It doesn't matter that you survived. You were surviving. I don't even know anymore what verbiage to use for this. For CF for 20-something years. It doesn't matter that you have friends or are multilingual and you are very receptive. No, none of that matters. You don't have a job. So
I think that heavy goes to like what we were conditioned to believe about the importance of having a job.
Mm-hmm.
Like it sounds like either society or your parents drilled into you like
this is what success and this
right,
is what like
yeah. I mean the
doing
same with
well
mine.
looks like.
The same like my grandma would be like, oh, this cousin makes a lot of money. I'm really proud of them. And I'm like, well, are they happy? Like,
right.
That's the question that I come back to now.
Right. It's like, are you happy or are you content? Are you at peace?
Because like not everybody's metric for success is ours. Just like, I mean, if your job is a metric for success for you, that's
great. That's beautiful for you.
You can be upset with yourself.
Right. And it's like I honestly don't think that's my metric for success. I don't think it's a job. Having like, I know at some sort of both rational and both like sort of intuitively know that like my job is not, or like, that's not my measurement for success, but it can't also, it's hard to like make this a daily practice and our moment to moment practice to be like, that's not success. That's not success. It's not going to bring you happiness. It's not. Yes, like I applaud you for acknowledging that you need money to survive, but that's also, that money comes and goes. Money comes and goes. Like that's not a consistent. Like, look at what else you have going on for you. And I guess that's where like the practice of gratitude comes into play, is like being able to wake up in the morning and be able to breathe easily. That's a big moment for gratitude. And I think, being somebody who's like had that like very direct and visceral contrast. Yeah. Like waking up, that's not just sort of that, like that weird, like frou-frou, like I'm grateful for every breath. Like that's like, I'm genuinely grateful.
You're living that.
But like I have to remind myself to do that. And
to practice the gratitude.
And to like sort of do an inventory of like, I don't think a celebration of like having a roof over your head is something that's small. It's something that you do that we like. It sounds so cliche, but it's something that we do take for granted.
For sure.
Or just gratitude for being able to have friends, like to have these moments of connections, to be able to exist in the world, to have that opportunity to exist within who we are, is not necessarily a measurement of success, but it's sort of reframing what success can look like. I think, I think I think having a job would be great, but, for right now, I'm sort of, I don't know if I'm in between. I'm sort of figuring things out.
I mean, you currently have a job.
Right. I mean, I have...
You mean a career.
A career.
Yes.
And I think so.
I was like, wait, she has a job. She's successful.
And, that's not fair to me either, or to my, the work that I put in at City and State, the hours that I put in there, to, diminish that's not work. That's not real work. Luisa, get your head out of your asshole. That is a job. And, what's great about it is that you get to see fucking people and you get to talk to them.
Yeah, you got to meet that guy. He's living the dream.
Jeff.
Shout out to Jeff.
He comes in pretty frequently, and I ask him every day, how are you doing? And he goes, living the dream. And finally today I was like, what the hell does that mean?
Did his face just go like...
I think he says that to all, whenever he walks into the shop, he, tells whoever's there that he's living the dream. And I think he was just kind of like, whoa, she's, questioning.
At least he had a good answer, though.
He did have a good answer. I wasn't sure what to expect. I was like, I don't know what living the dream looks like for you. I think we have different dreams. I don't know what that looks like for you. I mean, maybe they're not different dreams. I spend a lot of time in coffee shops, whether or not I work at them. Maybe, being at a coffee shop is a dream. But like you said, he did have a really, I resonate. I fucked with that answer. I said, yes, but it kind of, and this is something I was exploring in the car. It's a thought that I need to write about. But I love it, and I just, have this, tendency to want to fight it, too. When older folks come into my life or cross paths with me, and they, want to give me sage advice about, not getting old and, bodies falling apart. And I'm like, well, let's talk about this. You think you're giving me a lesson right now. And I know I have a lot to learn, and maybe, biting my ass about this later. But, my friend who walked in earlier this morning, who was living the dream, had put his mom into a nursing home, and he went on to say, take advantage of your body while you're young, and it's working properly because later on you're gonna have people taking care of you. And as he was saying that, I was just flashback of people taking care of me.
Right.
I'm flashback. I'm if you only knew.
Right.
There was one admission that wasn't CF related, but it really took a huge toll. It was one of the scariest admissions I've ever had, and just completely debilitated my entire body. And I couldn't walk. I was in severe and immense pain. I couldn't even pick up this. This is a can. I can't.
For the listeners at home.
I couldn't even pick this up. It was so unbelievably painful to pick this up. I don't even think I had the flexibility in my joints to even move that much. And so I think that was the memory that popped up in my head when he said that. It was just I know your intention behind saying that. I get it. But I also, know what it feels like to be taken care of and for a body to degenerate. I know what it feels like for a body to degenerate before it's supposed to, before it's chic and vogue to.
I deteriorated before it was cool. I
deteriorated at 20 years old. Thank you very much. And then I came back again,
resurrected, bitch.
Resurrected. Third time, the third blood transfusion.
Oh my God.
I honestly, I think about, all of this shit that I've gone through, and, it's heavy, yeah, but it's also fucking funny, because it's oh my God, it's a lot of time in the hospital, it's a lot of drugs that I needed just to survive,
Yeah, we haven't even talked about insurance.
I am so grateful I have insurance right now. And I always have had, I've always had coverage. Thank goodness.
Yeah, I feel like that's a whole separate.
It's a whole thing.
Combo.
It's a whole thing. I did miss, I don't know what happened. I do know what happened. I had to get, I go to clinic at Vanderbilt, and so I had to get, out-of-network pre-authorization coverage to go to Vanderbilt one clinic visit, and I thought it all went through. It didn't go through, and so then I had it went to collections. And I look at that bill of $2,000 just to go to clinic. What the? Why does this cost so much money? And then I look at the negotiated rates between insurance companies and healthcare providers, and you look at negotiated rates and the general rates for people for non-insured, and you're like, oh my god, this doesn't make any sense. None of this makes any sense. So if that shit cannot make sense, then my life can my perception of life cannot make sense.
Very true. So we're not talking about insurance.
Luisa's brain will explode.
But yeah, I guess to tie everything together, and I think I would be curious to know, just because this has been a big theme of my life and kind of uncovering the shadows within the last year for me, is when you at the very beginning started talking about shame. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's something that's very heavy, and I feel like my shame purse has rocks in it, like big fat boulders, but somehow in the last 6 months I've been able to glue sequins and feathers and somehow turn this really ugly, nasty shame into something that I have somehow begun to integrate in my life and accept. And I guess I just want to know what you were talking about at the beginning, and just your thoughts on shame, and yeah, all that stuff.
So shame, the ways shame has surfaced in my life, I think when I was dealing with height of CF, and when I was very much so
teenager years,
20s, I think a lot of the shame that I carried was just not being able to meet the standards that other people were the standards that I thought everybody had to meet. Things as simple as being at school every day,
sure,
or things like having a boyfriend, or in college, getting an internship, and then transitioning into a career place. I carried a lot of shame around that, because it was hard for me to meet. It was really hard for me to meet that expectation that I imposed on myself, and I guess society sort of generated the culture for it as well. And so I felt I didn't necessarily feel the shame for being sick, but I was trying to find a communion between being sick and trying to meet those expectations. And when I would operate in my day-to-day, when I wasn't sick, it was very much so present, the shame that I had for not having the skills or the experience required because I had missed out on so much. And while I'm talking about this, I'm realizing that I don't really think that shame has gone away. I think in a lot of senses, I carry the way the shame surfaces is through social interactions, especially talking about things I don't know, taxes. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. Like taxes, but that's, or like living living alone or like on your own. Or,
that's when it starts to surface.
That's when it starts to surface. Or like, there are concepts of like being an adult that I haven't exactly like been able to explore on my own because I've been so sick so long.
A little bit,
yeah. So like that's when shame starts to surface. And so like in looking for like a full-time like job, in career, like that's when I'm applying and writing cover letters and trying to show off like who I am. This shame.
You like fall back into that black hole.
I fall into that black hole. Like I go back and I'm like, oh, I'm not good enough for this. I'm not worthy enough for this because I don't have the life experience or like skills required for this, and it's hard for me to grasp these kind of concepts. And so that's where I feel the shame the most. I don't feel, a lot of times I don't feel adult enough, and I can talk, like I talked for like maybe the last 2 hours about like CF and like how hard it's been and like the fun stuff, like the silly stuff, and like how I can mold all of that together, in a weird way make sense of it, but and logistically speaking, you'd be like, oh, well, like it makes sense that you don't understand concepts of like living on your own and things like that, because, or like, it makes sense that that like on paper your qualifications are like for relatively entry level jobs. Like it makes sense. Like you've kind of gone through a lot for the last 28 years. You're kind of like, it makes sense. Like give yourself some grace.
You have like a different level of life experience that a lot of people don't have.
Exactly, but it's like it still surfaces. It's still there,
of course.
And like that interferes. Like when you carry that shame and like you're aware of it, whether it's like you're consciously aware of it or your body's aware of it, like it interferes with the learning process altogether. Like it's like you shut down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not good at anything.
Yeah,
and that's where I feel shame, and in a sense, I guess, ashamed of, not of me, but like not, I guess, like not being enough. And it sounds silly. It just sounds silly. Like when I talk about it, I'm like, that sounds silly to me. Like even if you don't feel qualified, or even if you like feel like you have a lot to learn, like inevitably you're always going to have a lot to learn, Luisa. Like newsflash. Like
yeah.
It doesn't sound that. It sounds easier. Theoretically, it sounds like it should be easier than I give myself credit for. Like I should like allow myself the grace to be able to navigate that, but that's just not the case in real life, and like in practice. It's hard. It's like it's a little bit debilitating. And I think because of like because of CF, I would endeavor like on a new like project or like a new commitment to something. I inevitably would get sick at some point, and either I would have to drop it altogether or make like a lot of accommodations. So I'm like, oh my god, like I have never learned how to do something to completion.
Oh my god, it's so hard and frustrating.
I've never learned how to do any of this. And so I guess in the back of my mind, like the chatter in the back of my mind is like, either you just like you just don't even try, or you can try, but you're not gonna succeed. And I see it surface on a daily basis. Like like yesterday, I got a call I had to apply to a job at Bonner, and I wasn't necessarily sure if I was going to get a call back or anything But I did. I got a call back, and a call back to say that, like, hey, I think you're not qualified for this job, but I think you should apply to another job, which was great. I was like, whoa, like, no one ever calls you back to say that you didn't get the job. They usually send you like a very like generic email, automated email.
Or nothing.
Or nothing at all. But this woman was kind and gracious enough to be like, let me see if I can get her in somewhere else. And then as she's talking on the phone, talking about the other position to apply for, she's like, I'm thinking to myself, like, oh my God, this is too real for me. Like, going to a job every day, like 8 to 5. I've never done anything like that in my life. Like, I'm not qualified enough for that at all. Like, and I just feel like in my head, or like in my head and like in my gut, I'm like, I have this deep, dark, dirty secret where like I can't commit to anything, and it's really not my fault. It's my body's fault, but like I take it on as my own, and like I, in the circumstance of yesterday, like this woman suggested that I reach out to one of my friends, my dear friends, to help me get an interview, and because there's a connection there. And as I'm like texting this friend, I'm like, why am I going? Like, why am I pursuing this? Like, why am I pursuing this? Like, I don't know what if I do actually get the job? Then what if I can't do it? Like, it would be a whole new learning experience, and that's scary to me. And it's burdensome to carry that. It's burdensome to question yourself so many times along the way. And it seems like a lot of people like our age, or I don't think they would have, or maybe I'm just like,
I think it goes back to what you're saying is,
yeah, go ahead.
They are really good at hiding it.
Yeah, I think.
Surely.
I think that's what I was about to say. I think I'm romanticizing it when I say like, oh, other people will be able to do this without any problem. But me, on the other hand, I'm the exception. I am special. I will be able to not do this on a special level. Like,
there's your Leo coming through. No, but I get it. I understand.
Yeah. That's where my shame is. Like, everything else, like, me, like, I think a lot of people with CF will find shame, like, with the disease itself and, like, how it manifests and, like, how ugly it manifests. And I'm like, yeah, no, let's show all of it. Yeah, even the gross pictures. Yeah. Do I have any pictures of the mucus sputums? Let's show that one, too. Like,
mucus in the description. Well, yeah, and I can only imagine just, like, even just that first thought of, like, okay, I have CF, I'm not normal, therefore I'm not normal enough, or I'm not worthy, or, yeah, even that. But I think it's awesome that you are willing to talk about it and feel it and work through it, and yeah.
I think I the shame doesn't come from, like, just anywhere. It's like it's not like, oh, magically appears, here's the shame. You know, it comes from like a
What's that in the corner?
It's kind of big. It's kind of ugly. How did it get there? That's some shit that I haven't been cleaning.
Put that back in the closet.
Put it back in the closet. Oh, no. It's resisting. It's resisting.
Call somebody. I can't do it alone. I mean, that's a personification, but that's how
it's true. It's true. It's true. It's like, and then it just like becomes like not only like this thing in the closet, but it's like this like
he lives here. He doesn't pay rent, but he lives here.
Exactly. Like, we feed it. Like we feed it regularly. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Sometimes snack.
You want red or white wine?
It's true. It's so true.
I mean, and I think that's also an interesting but important point of like, I don't know that the shame is going anywhere. So how do we live with it and integrate?
Like, right. Like bring it in. Like, like you were saying, for the glass of wine, like, okay, like here you are. Like
let me get a look at you.
Let me get to look at you. Well, you ain't that bad.
Kind of cute.
I would date you if it wasn't you. If you weren't
just
me.
Don't ask me who am I. That's the only thing that's off limits.
Don't ask me who I am. go into a catatonic
We
state.
don't talk about identity.
We don't talk about identity here. Here, identity fluctuates. It's a free for all. You know, we don't talk about that, but we can talk about anything else. I promise you. Is it going to be linear? Fuck no. Like, there's no linear. Like, no, it's not going to happen. So get yourself comfortable. Get some wine, and we're going to talk about why you're here, Shane. Like, we're going to talk about it. We're going to work through it, and maybe both of us will come out looking a little bit better because you look like a fucking wreck.
And I think that's so important because I lost my train of thought. Knowing, I think for me, knowing where my shame kind of started, lives, helps me to not be so afraid of it, helps me to be willing to kind of go there, and also like not let it hold me back anymore.
Right. I think like, and like in theory, I'm a big like proponent, I guess, of like making friends with like the things about you that you just aren't comfortable with, you know, like, you know, creating some sort of like lines of communication with like those parts of you who you hide and like you don't want to deal with, or you just, which is shame. But in practice, like in my day to day, like I'm making a lot of realizations here with Madeline. Like,
hell yeah.
In practice, it's like, let me try to hide you and not deal with you, like, and not know why I'm like anxious as hell about applying to a job or like having a job interview and being a sort of adult, whatever the hell that means. And so for me, that looks like bringing that shame to the table, giving it a glass of wine, and like asking like, why are you here? Like, what's your story? Like, where did you come from?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Like, it just wants
to be seen,
to be seen,
to be acknowledged. You know, like for me, like as I think about like where that shame comes from, it comes from, you know, having been sick and not having been. I think a big thing is like follow through. Follow through for me is just like completion. What does that mean? Like nothing is ever complete, so why even start? Like
nothing is real.
Nothing is real. So that's, I guess that's where my shame sort of, it started small, but like the more that happened to me, the bigger it got, and like the stronger willpower it had over like my intent to follow through with something or how that went. And yeah, it's something that I have to work on. I have to like approach like that shame and like the sadness that it brings. There's like the sad, like I guess like when you open that up and you have to like think about where it came from. Like, how were you born? It's born from like really sad stuff, like really hard. Like I didn't meet status quo somewhere at one point in my life, or many points in my life, and that made me feel less than. That made me feel less than. That made me feel that I could never like be normal, or like. So yeah, I guess it makes sense that I just like haven't approached it or forgot to deal with it. And I think
it's heavy. We don't want to.
It's uncomfortable, and I love to talk about I love to talk about being uncomfortable, but I miss some stuff. You know, I miss the shame. Like I miss like when you first asked me that question, I was like, "What shame?" And I was like, "Luisa, you had like a fucking panic attack yesterday because of this whole like job thing. Why do you think you had a panic attack? Like, why the hell do you actually think about that?" Yeah, and I don't think it's just like related to jobs either. I think there are other like places it rears its head and tells you that you're not good enough and that you're not worthy enough. And by God damn it, theoretically, I should be like, yeah, sure, that's like also that could be true, but like let's try it anyways. Like even if it doesn't work out, let's just try. But it's paralyzing. Like it's like you like it's in, you know. For as much rationality and as much like you mentally prep yourself, like physically, like emotions can grip you. You know, like they can physically hold you back and I've had to learn like talking about shame and talking about anxiety and talking about this, that was very hard for me to be able to differentiate between like what was anxiety and what is my disease. Like, where's the line between? Like, which am I sick or am I anxious? Am I on the verge of an exacerbation, or am I on the verge of spiraling into shame and like I can't get out of the bed? And that's something that I was never taught, that anxiety or depression and shame can manifest physically. Like, I was never taught that that's what it was. That could be a way that it's showing up. And it took me a while to be able to, and it's still kind of, well, now it's not that fuzzy. Now I know that it's more than likely like depression that's showing up and not me being sick. But beforehand, I really had to sit and think. I was like, is this me having anxiety or depression or shame, or is this me like actually sick? And a lot of times they would just all coincide at once. Like, if one was triggered, it would trigger the other one. Yeah. Like, if I was depressed, then that was going to trigger an exacerbation. Or if I had an exacerbation, it was going to trigger depression. I think the first time that I sort of like was able to see it was when Aaron died. When Aaron died, I checked out. I was like, bye. Like, this is a lot for me to handle. So I just sort of sat in bed for days, and finally I got sick. Like, that much sedentariness definitely like contributed to an exacerbation. I was admitted to the hospital, and like when I was admitted to the hospital, I was like, oh, validation. Like, this all makes sense now. Like, I'm sick. I'm just sick.
Right.
And I think it was right after like that phase that I was able to say, oh, okay, what happened here was you had a traumatic life experience. You went into a deep depression. And because of the deep depression and like the inherent like nature of being sedentary, that made you sick. And so they all just sort of coincide, and they feed off of each other. And it was nice to have that awareness. But it was a while before I was able to like do something about it. And I don't know if acting proactively would be the right word, but like being aware that like there's a definite like inner exchange between like the brain and the body and the emotions, between the brain and emotions and the body. Like, there's definitely like an interplay, and it's constant. And I think I had to like, it was me talking about it and writing about it and seeing that it resonated with other people in the CF community that I was like, oh, okay, so this is an actual thing. But it would have been nice if like my doctors or like my care team or even therapists would have been able to like validate, like, yeah, like the brain and the body are connected. Fucking shit, they are. Like,
well, and I feel like that might be like I think Eastern philosophy has always believed that, but maybe something that like our Western society hasn't really until recently. So I'm sure like they're like, oh, well, there's no science, so
like there's no like data to back up.
Where's the data?
Yeah. Where's the data? Like the data. Where is it to back up like these findings? I remember I was 16 and I was in the hospital and I was depressed, and I had my pulmonologist at that time, or one of the pulmonologists in the team, came in and like sat in like one of the chairs next to my bed, and he was like, I guess playing psychiatrist that day. I no fucking clue. And just like trying to like understand like what's going on in your head. And he was like, all right, well, we'll actually bring in a psychiatrist. And so they did, like a pediatric psychiatrist who was doing his fellowship came in, and this guy was like stumped, like why are you like so sad and depressed? And I just like I can't like understand how for so many like people, like folks in my care team, or like who see like the circumstance of like children and young adults and adolescents living with CF, how they can't like make the connection between like why depression would surface and while living with like a chronic disease like cystic fibrosis. Like I don't know why they were stumped. You know, they like can you do some like reflection and like think where you were when you were 16 and sort of like be able to compare, like do comparative analysis, like, oh wow, when I was 16 years old I was like able to do like get up, I didn't even know what a hospital looked like. Yeah, I think it makes sense. I remember through pediatric care, a lot of patients like would be wouldn't do their treatments. They would neglect. There's a lot of treatment negligence. Like that's normal for is normal for people with CF going through adolescence to develop. What is it called when you're like a teenager and you're like rebellious stage? Like I don't and I remember my pulmonologist, like I was a star patient and I really like was proud of that. My pulmonologist would come in and he wouldn't violate HIPAA laws, but like he would like share like, hey, like, how do we help these patients? I just don't understand. And I guess at that point I was trying to like live up to the expectations of being a star patient and be like, well, I don't understand either. They're not doing their treatments. Scum. But in retrospect, as a 28-year-old, they can be like, no fucking shit. They need therapy. Like, they need therapy. They need to process this. They need to, like, this is a really big thing. We can't pretend that just because we've been living with this, like, our entire lives, that it doesn't affect our mental health. Like, it doesn't affect, like, how we see the world. Like, it makes sense. Like, if you were to tell a freaking 8-year-old that their life expectancy is 28 to 32 years old, as they grow up and develop into an adolescent, do you think that there's any inclination to like want to do better? Why would there be? You've given them an expiration date. Mm-hmm. So it makes sense. I don't want to like suggest like this is how you should think, but it just makes sense that like, yeah, I'm going to die when I'm, somewhere like at 32 years old. So why does it matter?
Well, it's not like kids really have like rational thought developed at that age either to be like, oh, well, maybe I can, make the most of it.
Right. Or like, I'm going to try really hard and like, well, I don't know. Like, I think that was my frame of thought was like, I think my frame of thought for a long time was like, I was never defiant with my treatments. And part of that was because of my mom, but another part of it was like, I was definitely afraid of being, dying. But like a huge part of it was like, fuck that shit. I'm going to figure this out. Like, I'm going to figure out how to stay alive longer. I don't know what it looks like, but we're going to do it. I'm going to exceed expectations.
Yes.
And like I was
star patient,
and I was like in complete denial. Like a lot of my friends will be like, "Yeah, I remember when I found out like people would like die at 32." I remember the first time I realized that, and I was like, in my head, that was like never a realization. In my head, it was like that's interesting. That's an interesting fact, but that's an interesting fact, but like that doesn't apply to me. At least. That's what I was thinking at a conscious level, but I think the way I behaved and how neurotic I was about doing treatments and like trying to not to die was like, or trying to stay. I think I would have framed it then, like trying to stay alive was like me just deathly afraid of like that life expectancy. I was like, ooh, okay. But all of that to say, like we were initially talking about shame. and the shame sort of like, you know,
The mental health in the little kids.
The mental health in little kids. I think a lot of that shame was like developed as a little kid. Yeah. So I think, what I'm saying is like, I think that shame probably was developed, probably when I was 12, 13 years old. Like a lot of the shame that I have from like constantly getting sick. And then like the way I cope with getting sick was like, I would get depressed. And then I think that compounded upon like the already pre-existing shame that was there. And I don't know, I think altogether, like I don't think there was like a lot of resources for me to like reach out to and like have access to navigate like my mental health and to navigate like, hey, like the idea of success is going to look different for you and everybody else. Like all of that looks different based on who you are. I didn't have really any of that concept. Like I couldn't conceptualize that. So I just I guess unintentionally like developed like I'm not good enough because I'm getting sick, and then they're questioning why I'm depressed because I keep getting sick, and so I'm even more like shameful because I'm depressed because I'm not coping with this disease the right way, and like what the actual fuck? I don't know if nobody ever said that to me, but like I felt like I wasn't there have been very many times in my life where I'm like, I'm not coping with CF the right way.
Right.
Which is so crazy. Which in hindsight, I'm saying that's kind of crazy. But it wasn't crazy at the moment. I was like, I don't know how to do this. And newsflash, baby Luisa, if you're listening, there is no guidebook on how to do it. Like, there's no guidebook on how to like live with a chronic illness at a young age, and there's no guidebook and how-to manual like to cope with those big emotions that most of the people who surround you just have never experienced.
Right.
And there's a lot to say of like you yourself, like, and what you can generate on your own. Like there's a lot to like say for like what feels most intuitive to you in coping with it, what feels right for you. And for me, that was talking about it. Here I am. So
feel a children's book coming on.
There is a children's book coming on. I think.
Are you gonna make one? Is that what you're saying?
It keeps coming up. It keeps coming up in my head, like this idea of doing a children's book for people, like for kids with chronic illnesses.
I mean, just hearing you talk about it like that sounds like, I think a big thing that I've been learning is like, what did you need that you didn't have? And so I've been trying to think about like, in terms of like purpose and like giving back. And so like, I mean, when you were saying that, that's what I was thinking of. Like,
right. Like, I wish somebody would have said, hey, like depression is okay. Like, hey, like all of these big emotions are okay. You know, like I don't want to like, I don't know how you write it, like a children's book, and like the way I would, if I
maybe like a teenager book.
A teenager book. Well, no, I think that I don't want to,
like a chicken soup book. Oh my god, that's not happening.
Well, no, I want to write a children's book. And I really, I don't know, maybe I was just like a deep child and like just sad and depressed deep child. Maybe that was just who I was. But I think there is room to like create, to frame it within language that children use, like to frame mental health.
Yeah.
Frame mental health and frame like chronic illness in a way that's accessible for kids and that isn't like super overwhelming. But, you know, I just start working on what that story would look like. And the only thing I can think of right now is like, who's gonna what are the illustrations gonna look like? I'm looking at the snail right now. It's providing me with a
Just
lot
say,
of...
Shame, sit down. I'm not talking to you right now.
Oh God.
Well, all great things start as a baby idea, so
They do.
this could just be the very, very beginning.
You know, like, you're bringing up the children's book, and I told Tess Colasar and Caitlin Coney, like, in January that I was going to write a children's book. And they're like, yeah, let's do it.
This is your confirmation.
They're like, and I'm like, shit, I actually have to do it. It goes back to the shame, like the fear and the shame that I have surrounding, like, follow through. I'm like,
And the completion.
And the completion, like, or, like, in the how-to-do-ish, like, how do I do this? How do I write a children's book? How do I, like, talk about this kind of stuff? I don't know. To be found out.
In bookstores near you. No, I think that's great. I think this is a very important conversation just now, that as mental health is becoming more like prevalent and like people are willing to talk about it. I mean, I don't know, starting it early, like, because kids go through shit too. I mean, I think that's where a lot of our irrational feelings start.
Yeah, I think.
And then we grow up as adults, like, I don't know what this
I don't
means.
know why I'm fucked up. Where did it come from? And it's like between the ages of 2 and 4, like that's when all of your, I don't know.
They do say, I think, like, probably up until, a lot of people say up to the age of 7. And then someone said, I think, and I don't know the exact science, but like basically from 0 to, I don't know, 13 is like when all of your beliefs get formed.
That, and I think I've read that as well. Like, that's the years of formulation of like where you start like framing your perspective and like what you think and what you believe, and that's and then when you're older and you're trying to figure out like what the hell is wrong with me, like why am I so depressed? Why am I so sad? Why do I feel humiliated at little things? You know, it comes from those like early years, and our parents not really knowing what to do with us, and them not having a guidebook. That's the second book,
right? And I think we just have to accept that there is no guidebook ever.
Right, and then if there is a guidebook, that shit goes out the fucking window, like, on day 2, because there's something new that comes up.
True. Well, and I think it's important, like, I think only we know how to author our lives. Like, I can't tell you how to live your life, and then your frame of reference is completely different from mine. So,
exactly.
Like, that's what I'm learning, too. Just, like, there is no guidebook, and I have to be okay with that, and I have to be confident enough to write my own. Right. Live my life my own way.
Right, and like make room for flexibility with your with the way you've written your guidebook. And
like it's not like something you have to adhere to the T, because we're human and mistakes are real.
Right, and every day is something different. Like every day is a new situation. And you know, when you said, you know, you can't tell me what to do, Madeline. When you said that, like, it kind of goes back to like, I was thinking to myself, like, interesting. So, and I think I still do this, like, we look outwards for like guidance, and like, whether that's like through religion or through different sort of like practices, like spiritual practices, or little books on little how-to guides. We adopt those.
Don't talk about my self-help show.
Well, like, we adopt those expectations now, and when we were little, we adopted them. Like, oh, this is how you do life. Like, I think if I were to make a how-to manual on existing, it could be detrimental to other people, because like my flexible how-to book is not going to be somebody else's. Like, it's just not going to work for somebody else, and either they throw it away, which they should, because my how-to book is not for you. Either they throw it away or they adopt it, and they're like, it's like living a fish out of water. Like, you can't survive on my lived experiences. Right. Or like, you can't survive living. You can't live your life based on what works for me. That's just not how it works. My hypertonic saline 7% is not going to be beneficial to you. So if you wouldn't use my medicine, like why would you use like my medicine for my therapy, like the way I cope day in and day out, you know?
Yeah.
My guidebook.
One, I think I've been thinking about that too. Like, I think truth is unique to you. Like, I think that my greatest wisdom I can give to another person is telling you to trust yourself.
Right.
And to write your own guidebook.
Right.
Because I know that I have been trying to, going back to the chameleon, do things according to what other people said and other people's expectations, and like that just hasn't worked.
Yeah. It's proven ineffective, and detrimental.
God, the placebo.
You got worse than the placebo. The placebo does nothing. Whatever you're taking is just like, what is it? It has adverse side effects. You know, like does more harm than good. Could potentially does more harm than good.
I don't know what that's called, but
there is like
poison.
It's poison. It's
drugs.
Long-term poison.
Well, thanks so much, Luisa, for taking time to share your story, to share these life nuggets of wisdom, to be open and vulnerable about your journey and your shame, and still be fucking cool. So I'm super glad to have you.
Thank you, Madeline, for calling me and for inviting me on, and having these conversations going back and forth. This whole conversation is giving me a lot to sit with and to figure out later on.
Well, hopefully it resonates with others, whether they live with rare diseases or are fortunate to have able bodies. But I think a lot of this information is important and still relevant.
Right, regardless of whether or not your body is in the space of being able-bodied or not, you know. Hopefully something sad. If not, you can throw it all away. I don't know.
You could just press next.
That's next. Like, what was it like when I was growing up? My aunts would tell me like, take what works, and if not, just throw it all away. Like, okay, that's what I tell whoever's listening. Take what works, and if nothing works, just throw it all away. I don't know. Press next.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Well, don't forget to live the dream.
Live the dream. I'm going to change my Instagram handle to Live in the Dream.
Your bio. Live in the dream, Luisa. Well,
that's what I'm going to do.
We will catch you next time. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you later.
Bye.
If you'd like access to more podcasts and a postcard each month, check us out on patreon.com/embracemadness.